And we bring to you some interesting information about a movie we just watched. Yep. We also read the story and discussed it on Poe Unplugged. And Jeanie, what would that be?
That would be the Premature Burial with Corman.
Yeah, Roger Corman directed. It's the only
1962 version.
Yes,
it's the only one that did not have Vincent Price as the lead actor.
Correct. And the reason was Corman and the producers of AIP, American International Productions, had some kind of weird thing about flipping a coin. This was some interesting research that we did, and about who got paid for what specific things.
Exactly.
So basically Corman lost, and so instead of leaving that for AIP, he took it and did it on his own.
Yep.
And he couldn't afford Vincent Price, and so he had to hire Ray Milland.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing because Ray Milland has his moments. I have been a fan of his on certain things, but he just didn't have the right stuff, for lack of a way of saying it.
Yeah, well, like we talked about, you could tell it was written for Price.
Exactly. It is definitely a story that was written and made for Price and his acting ability and his characterization
his style.
And all that. Not that Ray didn't try to do a very good job.
Absolutely.
However, like Carmen and I were discussing, and I was saying that if it hadn't been for the special effects, the music, and just the whole ambiance of the movie, it would have felt completely flat because those characters just weren't memorable, in my opinion.
No, and Hazel Court was also in Mask of the Red Death, and she did a very good job, and she plays a more of a villain-like character.
Yes.
She does it very well because she was also in a Twilight Zone episode, one of the last episodes in the last season of Twilight Zone.
Right. I mean, and they had their moments. I mean, there were some interesting aspects to it, but I think it was the actual story itself that made most of the difference than it was the actual characters telling the story.
Yeah, and some of the things I found that I read about was that, the only thing that Corman took from Poe's story was the title, but I totally disagree with that. And because I really think in the Premature Burial, the story of that Poe starts, when he's talking about all the different people who were buried alive that came back and some that didn't come back. I believe it was Victorine and Rennell. And Rennell treated Victorine not too kindly, and it really reminded me of Guy, Ray Milland's character, how he treated Emily, Hazel Court's character, once they were married, and he became obsessed with death and being buried alive.
Yes, I mean, the tendency of it also is that it seemed to be where you felt sad on her behalf because you felt like she was the victim, but in all actuality, Ray was the victim. Guy was the one that was being abused and being driven crazy. But the way that Corman and the way it was written, you really just wanted to say, well, there's no way that she could have had anything to do with this. There's no way that she would do something so horrible or so, out there, because she played that character very well.
Yeah.
She played the victim. Let's just say she played the victim perfectly.
She did, and she covered it up and just masked herself.
Exactly. And the one thing is the sister. I really liked how he built the sister in there because at the very
it was
beginning,
a red herring.
Yeah, the very beginning, you're automatically being pulled to where there's a female that's going to be the antagonist.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The antagonist of this. So, but all of a sudden, halfway through, you're like, wait a minute. Is it really her?
Mm-hmm.
Because she seems to really love her brother.
Right.
So it keeps you guessing on that end.
Yeah,
But this is where I think the use of the music, the use of, the special effects and the ambiance of the story.
The whole setting, the cemetery was very prevalent.
Yes.
The vault or the mausoleum, the crypt, whichever you want to call it, that he had built to prepare for not being buried alive. And that's another nugget from the story that Corman pulled out, because Poe describes the securities of not being buried alive very well and very vivid, and Corman puts that into the crypt that Guy built for himself.
And he ends up technically, and this is the one thing that I liked about the movie, that, it was very much a stray from the actual story that Poe wrote, but he still kept some of the good nuggets about it.
Yeah.
Like the horror of the thought of being buried alive. But the one thing that I enjoyed most about the movie is that Guy could not get past that he was actually interning himself already in the mausoleum. So he technically had already buried himself alive.
Yes.
Because he was so afraid of being buried alive.
Yeah, and Emily pointed that out multiple times, trying to get him to come out of it, even though we don't want to give too many spoilers away. But in the book, in the story that Poe wrote, he has the dream sequence, towards the end with the narrator and what they go through. And the narrator ends up realizing he was too obsessed and gave up all of the things about death.
Yes.
So to basically be able to live.
Yes. And the one thing is that Guy in the movie, he does become extremely obsessed with everything. And I love how Corman did bring in the scientific aspects of it.
Yes.
Using the going back to Words with a Mummy, where they tried to revive the mummy using electrical shocks,
galvanic battery.
Yeah, and then Guy actually was trying to revive a frog using the same thing.
Yes.
So I thought, Corman's also bringing in other pieces to this. And I like that idea, but in the essence of it all, now I really liked it when he used the dynamite. He brought it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, if you're going to be buried alive, blow your way out. But
yeah. Well, and Corman gave Guy that dream sequence as well, and Poe had the dream sequence at the end of the story. And so again, when you really read with a purpose stories that are created by these authors, and then really watch the movie with purpose when you're trying to compare the two, there's more in it than I think a lot of people have given credit for.
Exactly. And another thing is, Corman also loves to transpose all different types of Poe's story.
Yes.
Sorry, no, transpose.
Yes.
That now the one part of the story that really got me, that I was like almost ready to say, no, not happening, was with the cat's meow. And I thought, oh Lord, he's playing on Poe's propensity of putting cats in walls and all this other thing and hanging them. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I can handle this. He's trying to bury a cat alive.
Yeah, because
might be too much.
Once they found the cat in the wall and they got him out, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wonder what's going to happen to the cat.
Exactly.
Where is it? Is it buried? Is it just in the wall?
Oh,
Where is it at?
Yeah, and I stuck with it. I was proud of myself. I stuck with it because I was like, I gotta see where he's going with this.
Oh yeah, you have to. Yeah.
And one thing I did notice that he really played, and this was a good thing with the character that Guy brought in, was he at first thought it was just his imagination.
Right.
He did not think that it was something that was real until everybody else started hearing it.
Yes.
Because they asked him, what's going on? What's the matter? There's a cat's meow. And they're like, yeah, we hear it. It sounds like it's stuck somewhere. So I think that kind of helped him realize that, ooh, maybe I'm not completely crazy.
Yeah. But that would have been a perfect thing for Emily to play the trickery of even more than it came out with the cat.
Yes.
Is saying, I'm not hearing anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think if it had just been those two in that scene, it probably would have been played that way. But because it was all of them, that unless they were all in on it,
right, and not everybody was.
Exactly. So yeah, because the whole point of the matter was, and like many of the villains do in their day, is they try to push the protagonist or the hero of the story, they try to push them past the point of return.
Right, exactly.
Which I thought that the story, that's one thing that it did that Ray pulled out most definitely was towards the end of the movie when he really brought out how much it was affecting Guy as a character.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say, I'm going to mention something else here in just a second, but I really like Ray Milland better as a more villainous character and antagonist. I think he plays it better. He was not bad in this role, but, I prefer Price.
Yes.
But Milland did a great job, but I think it's just the disappointment of this should have been Price.
Yeah, and I think also that it would have been more of a hit if it had been Price.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about earlier, I think it definitely was written specifically for Vincent.
Right. And Milland was on he was on the downhill slope of his career.
Yes, very much. And the one thing I will bring in about the beginning of the movie, with the entering of the the moments and everything, it drugged me back to Charles Dickens and
I could see that. Carol. Yeah, absolutely.
When I first started, I'm like, oh look, it's like I'm watching George C. Scott.
Yes.
And that point in the grave. Yeah. So I think they definitely were playing with that aspect of it because it was during the same kind of time period.
Absolutely.
And I did like it that this was 1952, or
62.
62, sorry. Yeah. 1962, yes. Because it was, at first, you think it's a black and white because it's the beginning of the cemetery.
Right.
But in all actuality, they were using the color vision. And that was one of its infancies.
Right.
I think that helped because the vibrancy of those colors offshot the grays and the blacks of it.
Yeah.
And so
the setting was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
It really was.
Made the story for me.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I thought was really neat as well in the story, The Premature Burial, the Conqueror Worm is mentioned, which alludes to Poe's poem, The Conqueror Worm. And then in the movie, Guy also mentions the Conqueror Worm, and it's like that, keeping that Poe alive.
Yes, and just small tidbits, but he's still bringing it in and bringing it home to Poe.
Yeah.
So, all those little nuggets are just popping into my head for some reason.
Oh, no, I totally understand. One of the things that I thought was interesting was also, too, the grave robbers who kept popping up throughout the movie. And for whatever reason, it really reminded me of Birkenhair.
Yes.
And I believe that actual real life event happened back in I believe it was the 1820s.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, where I think it was Dr. Knox paid these guys to go find dead bodies.
So he could do experiments on them.
Yeah, so he could do experiments. And then what they ended up doing, because they were having trouble, is they were actually killing people.
Yep, and bringing them to him so they could get paid.
Exactly. And so, again, as Poe mentions in the story, truth is stranger than fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And, he borrowed that from Byron, who originated that particular quote from 1823 with Don Juan.
Exactly.
And so, again, it's all these connections.
Yes, and I love it because all this illusion, not illusion, illusion,
yes,
helps to keep those types of memories of true literature, in my opinion, alive, because that's one of the things that I would always talk about was how classics are always so overlooked, and especially in the younger generation, and coming across those that want to teach literature but have not read literature. And it's like you can't teach literature unless you have at least some knowledge of some classics.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
You have to know how the written word and the story begins.
Yes, and you also have to have background content knowledge, and that's one of the things that with a story that we're reading right now in my class, it's a story that was written in 1978, and it uses an old term for someone who is mentally challenged, and he uses it twice in the story. And so the kids don't want to read the word because it is politically incorrect now, and it's not a medical term. Like they retired that term.
Right, it's not medically. In the DS5.
Right. And so, and I always tell my kids, if there's something you don't feel comfortable reading, just skip it. It's fine.
Or just replace it with mentally challenged or something else that's acceptable.
But what we did after we got through that paragraph is I explained the context. And so lots of these things, like you were saying, it's like you have to have that context of the time. No, things weren't necessarily the right way, but that's what the times were. We can't change that. Exactly. We can only learn from it and go forward.
Yeah, like the whole tragedy, the tragedy was created in the Greek times, but it was told with a chorus, it was singing, and it was all about the tragedy. But not many people understand that that's the way life was at that time period.
Right.
And it very much fit. And then like with Poe and Byron and all the rest of them, they were reacting to that time.
Yeah.
And especially with Premature Burial, he was going off of what had already occurred in real life.
Right. With
people, a lot of the different plagues and a lot of the different, like diphtheria, typhoid, Black Plague, all that, where people were dying in mass. And sometimes they were in the living death.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't have the medical knowledge to figure it out. And when I would teach Shakespeare and I have to explain to the kids, there were no females in those plays.
Right.
They would use young, pubescent boys to play the characters of females.
Yeah.
Because women were not seen to have that, station in life.
Right. Or rights. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things that makes most of these stories even more, prominent, is you need to have that background knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. And, I think the things that Corman pulled out of Poe's story all fit nicely with the movie. Now, especially with, when Guy, Milland's character, was going through all the things, showing them his securities, as Poe would call it, and his safety coffin, which was what they would try to sell to people in real life during that time frame.
They would put a hole in it. That was,
and
a
so
mirror,
I mean the accuracy of keeping the historic preservation of that, it was great.
Yes, because that's what made the story. Because if you tried to change it, you would take away the story, and the story wouldn't be as prominent as it was.
Yeah, and I mean, now, of course, Corman did have some Hollywood flair in there and changed some things up, but I think that if the first part of the story with having all of the different, like the little short, seemingly nonfiction, but they were fiction, written towards more of a nonfiction slant, I don't think that, I think it would have lost all of the zeal to the movie if he had included that.
Yeah, because it wasn't meant to be in a movie.
No,
in a movie aspect.
No. The only way you could actually, I think, use that in something on film would be to make a TV show where each one of those was a different episode. Yes. And then the narrator's part could also be an episode, so it would be like a short anthology. And it's pretty much maybe we're hinting at someone to create this for us.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, American Horror Story has some into it.
Yeah.
Because every episode was built around something like that.
Yeah.
And like Lord Byron said, truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah,
absolutely. So you pull in that aspect of it, and people are like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And especially when it has to do with mortality.
Oh, yeah.
Mortality is the one big fear in everyone's life.
Oh, absolutely. And Poe, definitely had the fear of being buried alive, which is called tapophobia, which I thought was a really interesting term.
Yeah, it's weird where they come up with these names for phobias, but it goes back to either the Greek or the Latin base words that they've created them from.
Right.
So that's just phenomenal when you think about it. And he was able to write about something that was his fear. Mm-hmm. And that would just freak me out.
Well,
I'm like,
and
really?
And he wrote this story in 1844, which was 5 years before he died.
Yeah.
Now, he's got other elements, obviously, throughout all of his short stories. Right. Not all of them, but many of his short stories of the premature burials.
Right.
But, this one is very strong.
Yeah, and actually, if you think about it, him having tapophobia, it makes perfect sense when you look at his different stories.
Yeah.
Like, walling up people.
Yeah, Fall of the House of Usher.
And Cask of Amontillado.
Yeah.
And Black Cat.
Yep.
You got all this. Exactly. But I will say, in Corman's movie, the very end, and yes, I know they added that with the Hollywood flair.
Yes.
But that to me is where Ray truly shined.
Yes, I agree.
As his character.
Yes. The end was a very fitting end.
Yeah, and where in all actuality at the end you literally felt sorry for everybody.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was no true good or bad. It was just
this was a
bad.
Greek or Shakespearean tragedy.
Right. And it fit that bill totally.
Yeah, and Corman nailed it. And, I really wish he could have made more movies than he did.
Yes. Now, I will say that the one person that I started not liking at the beginning of the film was the one I was truly behind at the end.
And who was that?
And that was the sister.
I agree with you. Yeah. And it kind of changed when you realized she wasn't behind some things.
Yeah. And it truly.
And yes, we're giving spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah. It truly got to the nature of what she was she was the true tragic person in this whole thing.
Yeah.
That she had lost more than anybody else in the whole film.
Absolutely.
And that was the one person that I was like, you started out to where you're like, you're not sure if she's the antagonist in this,
Mm-hmm.
but then you get to the point to where, wait a minute, huh?
What's her real role?
Yeah, what is she really up to in
Mm-hmm.
this?
Yeah.
So by the end, you're going, I really feel for her.
Yeah.
And I think Corman did a really good job in that aspect of it, because to me that felt very Poe-esque.
Yeah, and one other character that we haven't mentioned was the doctor. Well, there were two doctors, but the older doctor who played Emily's father was played by Alan Napier, who was Alfred in Batman.
So you have, and I mean that one was really cool, because the moment you see him, you're going, oh, "Where's the Caped Crusader?"
Yes, it's Alfred. It's Alfred.
It's like, oh, wait a minute, well, this is the wrong movie.
Yeah,
darn.
And then the younger doctor, his last name was Ney. I don't remember his first name.
Yes.
He was I hate to say, kind of a forgettable character. He
think
played
he
a
was
role.
Meant to be that.
Yeah, I do too. But I mean, because to me, the grave robbers, as weird as they were,
Mm-hmm.
They just kept popping up. They were more memorable. Memorable than the young guy.
Now, the one thing I will say about the young guy and his character and the actor himself, he to me actually was the most believable.
Yeah.
Out of the whole cast.
Yeah.
Like I said, up until the end with the guy, with Ray, then he became believable. Yeah. But the young doctor was the one true character that I felt was in the role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
absolutely.
all the rest of them, I didn't get it.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd rate the movie. Again, we'll have to maybe do an episode where we rate all of the Corman movies. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. And I think part of it is just my love for Poe.
Yeah.
And it's a good story. But I do love Ray Milland. So.
Well, and I guess part of my thing is I liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't memorable. I won't, it's not something I want to go back and watch again.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But I think the one true reason that I liked it is because it fits with the time period and the movies that I do love in that era.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I mean, those, the 50s and the 60s with the black and white and all those types of movies. And like I said with the beginning, and I'm thinking, giving me the allusion to Christmas Carol with George C. Scott.
Yeah.
I liked it because of that.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's very middle ground to me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a Corman film. Yes, I like Ray Milland, but it's not a Vincent Price movie.
Yeah, I agree. And this movie can be found on Tubi for free, which is kind of cool.
And also on the Roku channel.
Yes,
for free.
So if you have Roku, if you have if Tubi is a streaming channel, you can get it for free.
Yep. And you can find it, and it's definitely a worth watching once. Mm-hmm. And
and I believe on YouTube there are some people that read the story aloud if you would rather listen to it than read it.
Yeah, the dramatic readings, there's quite a few people on YouTube that do that.
So that pretty much is our wrap up of the Premature Burial.
Yeah. And we hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.
And so for that, we are Poe out.